In this 5-part mini-series, I'll guide you to find an answer for yourself on this big question, actually the most frequently asked question when people get a chronic disease. Why did this happen to me? In the first episode, we find that the best lead to find causes were risk factors. But risk factors often lead to a lot of confusion, conflict, and custom bias. So if you haven't done so, check out episode 1. We also discussed that there are common myths, and those myths set the tone for deeper, common, pan-cultural, global beliefs about chronic disease, and that those beliefs are really behind the unsatisfactory answers that we get on this big question, why did this happen to me? And those deeper global beliefs, they're very hard to change. So in this episode, we're gonna debunk those myths so we can think differently. And I believe that can be game changing for you. I have been to so many doctors in my life, primarily to support my mom and dad, but also for myself. And we never hesitated to ask the question, why did this happen? Now, I have a lot of experience with this question, like 40 years and multiple times each year. And we met good doctors and not so good doctors and excellent doctors and doctors from all kinds of discipline, like diabetes, heart disease, different types of cancers, irritable bowel syndrome, Parkinson's, you name it. And although we got all the answers from all these doctors, they can be brought down to actually 3 answers. Number 1, it just happens. You cannot really do anything about it. Number 2, it's probably in your genes. Or number 3, it's maybe a mistake of the body. Now, this last one we didn't hear so much, but it was quite impactful for my mom. She actually believed it. She had so many hopes on improvement and so many disappointments that she thought that she was odd, that her body was odd, that her body reacted differently to medications, differently to treatments, so they didn't work for her. She had a body that was making a mistake. Well, actually, it is in all kinds of way quite an unhealthy thought, but it is also closing possibilities for everyone. So I'm going to debunk them, but if this is you and you recognize yourself in it, please try to change paradigm, because it's simply not true. So I'm going to debunk those 3 myths right now. Number 1, chronic disease just happens. It's like bad chance, like throwing dice. Well, here I bring in the risk factors. If it was just bad chance, we couldn't see rock solid scientific evidence for risk factors. There is a relation between certain foods and certain types of chronic disease. There is a relation between smoking and, for instance, lung cancer, but also colon cancer. There is a relation between stress and chronic diseases, loneliness and chronic diseases, chronic infections and chronic diseases. So lack of sleep. So there are a lot of risk factors, and they have proven themselves over and over again in large scientific studies to be a risk factor. So it's not random. Now, one may argue, yeah, but maybe there is some randomness, but on top of that, there are risk factors. Because, well, it's quite logic, because we all know people who are avid smokers and do not have lung cancer or colon cancer. We know people who drink a lot and do not have fatty liver disease. We have people who eat tons of sugar and do not have diabetes. So from the outside, it's really hard to see this relation. Like I said, there's a huge gap in between until recently, because we found in so many studies and overview studies that there is a linchpin between all those risk factors and all those different types of chronic disease, no matter what chronic disease we're talking about, if it are neuroinflammatory diseases, autoimmune diseases, cancers, heart diseases, no matter what. This linchpin is systemic low-grade inflammation. Systemic because it is found in the whole body. You can just measure it in your blood. And it's low grade, so it's not measured in a standard test at the doctor, because the standard test tests for really high levels with like acute inflammation. This is low grade but continuous inflammation. Now, inflammation in itself is a protective measure, and we don't want to miss out on that. But when it takes a couple of weeks or a couple of months or longer, it is extremely damaging in the body. So those risk factors all tested that they have a pro-inflammatory effect in our body. So they all induce inflammation to a lesser or a bigger extent, but they do. And all those different types of chronic disease, on the other side, they all originate in one way or another out of the damage that is a consequence of low-grade inflammation. So there's a direct link, and there's no just happening. There's no random chance. There's no bad chance, no throwing with dice. It is systemic low-grade inflammation that is at the heart of all types of chronic diseases. So, debunk this myth. Next myth up. Chronic disease happens to us because it's in our genes. Well, it's so true that children of people with chronic diseases get the same diseases as their parents. And it's also so true that every day scientists find new genes, specific genes related to specific chronic diseases. But it's also very true that adopted children get the same chronic diseases as their non-biological parents, so they do not share any genes. And adopted children do not show the chronic diseases of their biological parents. So what's going on? Well, the genes that are involved in health and survival are highly regulated by the environment because of adaptation. So those genes need a certain environment to come into our reality, what we call to come to expression. It's like an artist. Like this artist can have a 300 plus different colors that she can use in her studio. But she picks what gets on her canvas. And that's not randomly. She picks with mood, with intuition, and only those colors we can see in reality. We can see on the canvas. Well, there's an artist in all of us. And although we have a lot to choose from, so a lot of colors in our genes, we pick unknowingly those colors that we want to put on our canvas, or that what comes into our reality, those genes that come to expression had a certain environment, and that environment is for 95% chosen. It's what I call oversimplified, chosen by food and mood. Because what we bring out to the world, what we radiate out with our mood, or what we take in with our food, that is regulating our chemical environment in our body. And that chemical environment in our body is also the environment for the cell. And therefore, that environment regulates what genes come to expression and what not. So it is quite controllable, even though we inherited these genes. Now, scientists say that's only for 95% of the time the case. But hey, we can control it for 95%. So it's about oversimplified food and mood, or all different kinds of influences that we have that determines our chemical household. So of course it's also other consumption. Typically it are all the risk factors that we are aware of. So debunked the gene thing. Well, at least for 95%. Myth number 3. Chronic disease happened to us because of the body making mistakes. Now, this one does not go around that lot, but it has a lot of implications, because when people hear that and they believe that, then, well, it shuts all doors for possibility for treatment, because their body reacts differently, their body makes mistakes. So it's really important to debunk this one. So let's do that. First of all, we know now that chronic diseases develop from systemic low-grade inflammation. Now, the question then is, why would the body do that? Inflammation is a direct consequence of a defense mechanism. And the defense mechanism goes on when there is some kind of a threat somewhere. So there is a perception that there is danger. Now, all cells get their instructions from the brain. So the brain, in some way, is instructed for protection. So we know that chronic disease is a protective mechanism in the basis. Even though we know now that after a couple of weeks, when there's no resolution, there's more damage than repair. So the net effect is chronic disease. But in the basis, it's a protective mechanism. So it's never a mistake. It is a protection. And that's really a clear line. So debunked this one. But it's good to think about this one, because the brain instructs for inflammation. Where does the brain get its instruction from? If we can overrule that signal, that danger is necessary in those moments that danger is not really present, so we can consciously do that, we can reverse chronic disease. So, since we can be the main instructor of our brain, we can deliberately stop inflammation. And that is very, 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 very good news. That is the key to reverse chronic disease. So And by the way, those risk factors and this food and mood thing, they have a lot to do with it. So next up, next episode about the linchpin, systemic low-grade inflammation. The linchpin that tells it all.